Micheline, welcome to the Vibrant Couple. I understand that you work with high-powered women who have a very successful career but struggle with kids at home.
Yes, that's exactly my private practice. I am an integral master coach and I work one on one with high achieving, high performing women who are usually executives, directors, vice presidents, and they are very successful in their job. They're very successful at work, and yet they have young kids at home. And when they come home, the relationships with their children are often, with the limited amount of time that they have with their children, it's often time spent. There's lots of yelling, controlling, there's a lot of pressure. And that's really the sweet time that they want with their kids. And they find it that it's quite fraught with a lot of guilt, actually, because they don't have the tools to be able to be in the relationship that they really want with their kids. And so I work with mothers and I work on helping them with their parenting skills at home. And once they've started learning those parenting skills, they actually realize that those parenting skills directly translate to their leadership roles as well. So I often say that executive skills are parenting skills, and parenting skills are executive skills.
I remember a conversation that you and I had a while ago in which you mentioned that you think that parents put their kids through way too many activities. Do you mind saying more?
Yes, I can say more about that. Sure. I'll just take it back to really high powered performing women who have worked really, really hard to get to their positions that they're at. They have really proven themselves in this world that they're in, and they have been rewarded for it through the positions they hold. And a lot of that comes from a very high achieving mindset. And that high achieving mindset really, they want the very best. They want to achieve at the very top level that they can, right? And so there's a proving and a pushing and a kind of a forcing quality that these women bring to their position. That gets then translated to their children. So they have the same desires for their children. They want the very best for their children. They want their children to achieve great things. And therefore, there's a belief that if I put my kids in a lot of activities, they will be, well-rounded. They'll be have lots of opportunities. They will be find success in the sports or the music or whatever world they're in. And what I notice when I have worked with kids, I started out in a school counseling role. And so I worked with a lot of young children and I counseled a lot of young children. And when children are overly scheduled, it actually increases their stress. It increases their stress. It increases their nervous systems are on override, and there's far too much stimulation, especially since I will just use sports, for example, especially since sports in our day and age for children is actually like an over professionalization of sports. Whereas children, do they need activities? Of course, but running in the front yard with mom and dad with a soccer ball is plenty of exercise. They don't need referees and coaches and skill drills and all of this other stuff that goes on in children's sports. So coming back to this overscheduling, children need at a very under the age of 7, most definitely, but even beyond the age of 7, they need time to drop into deep play. This is how children get their brains hardwired for creativity, exploration, play, imagination. These are all the skills that top executives now are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for coaching to be able to learn these skills. And so if we actually honored these natural born abilities of our children to get into deep play and creativity and imagination by not overly scheduling them, then they're going to be building these skills that they're going to need later on in life. But with so much that what we have done in our very Western world of raising children is we're taking far too much time away from that early childhood, and it's a vitally important time for our kids. Mm-hmm.
I totally agree. And
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting because with couples, the new trend is to talk about relaxing each other's nervous systems.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of
Mm-hmm.
course, we still talk a lot about trauma, but how can we somehow be with each other and
Mm-hmm.
support each other?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. And I'm pretty sure that these mothers learning to play with their children, that has a huge impact on the children themselves and the basically good mood of the family.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And all of us struggle to play. All adults struggle to play, you know. I mean, I know when I had kids, it was hard. I had so many things to take care of. I've got laundry and food to prepare and lunches to prepare, and all the kids want is come and have a tea party on the floor with me. And so this is one of the things that I actually work with the mothers that I work with is how to be more present to their kids, to meet their kids where they're at in their imaginative world. Because the more present you're there and giving that time to them, time actually kind of disappears in that realm, right? In the world of imagination, time just gets quite expanded. And so, you know, you could go in and rush through a quick tea party with your kids, but that's not going to satisfy your child. And you're going to be rushing off. And then the child is going to be running after you, wanting more time. Whereas, really, if you can just drop into some deep imaginative play, time kind of disappears. And then you both feel this deep connection with one another. Mm-hmm.
So basically, learning to let go of that to do list for somehow what is most important.
Yes. Yes. That's
Yeah.
definitely it. It's in a very simplistic nutshell.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I believe somehow it is good to be simplistic
Hmm.
because otherwise we get carried away with what is not important.
Yes, we get caught up in the complexity. Children
Hmm.
have everything that we need as adults. Everything we're trying to come back round to, the children are there to teach us. They're the little bodhisattvas.
Yeah,
And you know what that
yeah.
means.
I totally do.
Yeah, yeah.
Wonderful.
Hmm.
So I totally see how you're basically helping your clients to relearn to play is wonderful.
Hmm.
What do you do about helping parents align with each other? Because, working with couples, I often see them either being misaligned or even worse, using the kids as weapons against each other.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, so definitely play is one piece of what I offer parents, but there are many skills that parents can learn to help them come into a more balanced place, a more centered place, a more grounded place, so that when the behaviors of the children or when the big emotions of the children are rising up, the parent can stay the one that is grounded, centered, and balanced. And that is because in the family unit, this is where we all have learned safety or not safety. We've learned a regulated nervous system or a dysregulated nervous system, and where we've learned good communication or not so good communication. So it's not a black or white, but there's a spectrum there. And so families are the source for creating safety and creating regulated nervous systems. Now, family is a very, use that word loosely because families can look many different ways nowadays, but the unit that lives together is creating that for the children. So when it comes to a husband and a wife raising kids, it can be really, I always say with the couples that I have worked with, it's not just you and your spouse with the kids in the room. You've got you and your parents and your spouse and their parents. So there's actually 6 set of adults in the room, right? Because all we've learned as parents came through our parents. So this is where we end up having a lot of clashes as parents because the value system of raising children is not aligned. This is why it's so vitally important to talk about value system of how you want to raise kids before you're married, which is often overlooked. But what ends up happening then is when the value systems are not aligned as parents, then we end up having parents will disrespect one another in front of the kids or undermine one another in front of the kids. And children are the great sponges that soak up all of the emotional energy of the home. So, although you might not be arguing in front of your kids, if you are feeling tension with your spouse, kids feel that. Kids feel that. They are giant emotional, energetic sponges. So, when I'm working with parents, what I'm often talking to them about is how to, one, keep honoring one another's value systems, talking about one another's value systems, and even creating a value system for their family. So, having that conversation where, okay, these are the 3 values that we are going to hold as the top values of our family. And then everything we do, is it in support of those values? And I always say just pick 3 because there's lots of values and often there's umbrella values underneath those, but it gives us an area of focus if there's 3 values to focus on. So what ends up happening then is once parents are more aligned with what the environment, the emotional or energetic environment that they're wanting to create for their kids, when they're more aligned, then there's so much more synergy in the family because that undercurrent of energetic tension is no longer there. There's this felt sense of support. There's a felt sense of they've got my back. They've got a felt sense of, okay, I really screwed up today. I can go and honestly have a conversation with my spouse, or I can tap out like, okay, I'm done. You need to step in here. Let's do a tag team because it can be really hard, but that ends up generating this really robust, healthy relationship for the couple because now there's no blame, pointing the finger back and forth as to who did what, and it's your mother who used to, and your mother, all that stuff that can come up. Now it's like we've got this foundation of a value system, and now we together can build what we're wanting to create for our kids. And so this translates, much like parenting skills, translates really well into leadership skills and vice versa. When you as parents are really coming together in the values that you're holding for the kids, you're also providing a really solid foundation for your own relationship. That love, intimate relationship that you have with your spouse is going to be even greater because of this united, aligned foundation that you have for the kids.
Well, I'm glad to hear we're on the same page because, I don't teach parenting skills, but what I do teach parents is the importance of being aligned together.
Yeah.
And that it's really important to speak up when there are tensions because what children suffer from is not the tensions, but the lack of resolution of those tensions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. The repair is so vitally important, especially for parents. And I say this a lot to the mothers that I work with. Look, you take creating change in your relationships. It takes time. It takes patience, most importantly with yourself, first and foremost, self-compassion. And there always are times where, we as parents get pressure cooker rises within us and we fly off the handle. And that's going to happen. But what you're teaching your children by actually coming back to the situation once that emotional charge has been released, because that's really all it is it's a pressure cooker. It builds, it's got to release. And unless we're taking care of ourselves to let out little leaks here and there in healthy ways, it's a pressure cooker is always going to blow its top. So if we do blow our top, how do we come back and make repair with the kids? Because if anything, children are unbelievably forgiving, and they also are just strongly desire a household that is without that energetic tension and pressure. And so as long as we're modeling that for the kids to come back and make the repair and demonstrate that you can problem solve this. It's not it's yes, there's the emotional reconnection with the children, reassuring them that they're safe, reassuring yourself that you are safe, reassuring the children that you're safe, and then moving into the problem solving mode of how can I best manage this next time. And ultimately, that is through once you start feeling the pressure cooker rising, how can you release pressure along the way without trying to ignore it or push it down or suppress it?
You and I very much seem on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
There is a question that comes back again and again with the couples I work who have children, especially young children. And basically, the mother says, I have these little monkeys climbing on me all the time, and I don't feel supported enough during the day by my partner.
Mm-hmm.
How can I somehow want to open to him in the bedroom at night when
Mm-hmm.
we go to bed? And so,
Mm-hmm.
do you have any wisdom?
Well, that's a big challenge, I think.
Mhm.
A healthy sex life when you have little kids can it can fall to the wayside for sure. Um, I will say, as a mother myself, I had three little kids. Now, I was a stay-at-home mother, so I did not have a big high-powered job at that time. Um, but those babies, I was breastfeeding one, the other one would never leave my leg, the other one always wanted to hold my hand, or I had to help with all of the, everything they were doing. So it's like there's constantly my body was always just in service to the children. My body was in service to giving, carrying them. My body was in service to giving birth to them. And then my body is still in service to them, for a number of years after they're out. So there's this constant sense of being, it's just a constant giving out. So come, intimate time with the husband, that I just there was nothing left for me to then give my body again over, right? It just wasn't there. It wasn't available. And so what is so important, I think, especially for husbands who are the fathers of these little kids and perhaps are wanting that more intimate relationship with their wife, is to recognize that the support of throughout the day is really foreplay. Right, to really let me help, let me carry the kids, let me do this laundry, let me do these dishes, in that complete support role, so that when it does come time for nighttime, they have felt supported first and foremost, and secondly, it's not going to be an easy give over of the body. It's a relaxation of the mind that has to happen first and foremost. Because again, as a mother, you're thinking about the school lunch the next day, the meals, you're thinking about, right, I've got to call their teacher, I've got to phone in that, I got to take care of this, I've got to sew that button on, I got to, whatever the list of things is,
Constant to-do list.
constant. And so it's the relaxation of the mind that's going to open the body first and foremost. I mean, there's different parts of the woman's body that opens different parts. So the mind is the first one
Mhm.
when it comes to children, to help them relax. And so I've often said to some couples that I've worked with is, could it just be a foot massage? Could it just be a well-oiled foot massage, lather up the oil on the feet and just give her that time to truly feel supported and relaxed and really nourished. because of that constant giving away of energy in service kind of energy. There has to be a replenishing before more is asked of her. Mm-hmm.
So what I'm seeing there is the couples that seem to be the happiest are the ones in which the man, the husband, partner, whatever their sexual orientation, marital
Yep.
status,
Yep.
is basically as a giver. And the
Mm-hmm.
ones who either don't know how to be with wife and children, or the ones somehow are there more to take from them, don't seem to be as happy. So what I'm hearing
Mm-hmm.
is that that giving attitude is very much foreplay
Yep.
throughout the day. And
Yep.
then when there is evening in which he may want to be intimate and have sex,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
then being still in that giving somehow with no expectations,
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing a lot of conflicts. Like, you expect that rubbing my feet for 5 minutes will dot, dot, dot.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for
Mhm.
sure. And then, what I would like to add to that is I think there are many men who are that giving, who want to be that supportive, who are working really hard to be that supportive person for their spouse, the mother of the children. And so they're in that role and they're working hard and wanting to be that. And I think it's really important for women to open to receive it. And that's a whole other piece of the puzzle, because if women are like, not willing or able to be open to the touch, to be open to the support, and I can definitely feel this in my own relationship. When I was a young mom, there was a sense or a belief, or I don't even know what, but it was like, I have to do it all. I have to do it all on my own and nobody can help me. And I remember I would even go to the family cottage when my kids were little and I was the first one to have children. And I had three adult sisters around, but I still never asked for help, or they would offer it up. No, 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 I've got it. And I watched this going, what, it's this constant pushing away of the support. So there's a bit of the martyr, some martyr archetype in there, right? Of the great mother and, oh, what was me? And that plays out in our relationships. And so we as women have got to, one, respect that the man is truly doing their very best to be in that support role, in that offer role, and to allow ourselves to relax and to truly receive that. That to me, I think, is there's two components at play here for sure. Mm-hmm.
And I can totally see how learning to receive that makes them way more effective as leaders as work, because they can receive through delegation, they can receive through support with other departments, in their position.
Yeah, and I'm not just speaking to the women that I work with, kind of high achieving women. I'm speaking to a lot of women to be able to be open to receiving the support. There is a deep belief, I think, within women that goes deep into our DNA that we kind of have to do it on our own. We're supposed to have it all together for our families and our communities and our kids and our husbands, and and we're missing that piece of the support
How
and
do you
receiving.
how do you teach that to your clients?
Oh, well, there's so very particularly how I do this is I have a full customized coaching program that I create for my clients, and it really outlines where is it that how is it that they would like to be. Usually they come because they're struggling in the relationship with their kids. That's how they usually come to me, and then quickly realize, oh, this is as beneficial for my leadership and my position at work as it is for my relationships at home. But as they discern what is the area that they most want to affect change, then I create a fully customized coaching program, and that we use metaphors in this work because metaphors is the language of the unconscious. And so creating metaphors really helps clients to look at the metaphor from a more objective place. It helps us to see ourselves from a more objective space because so much of my work is about developing the self-awareness to be able to see oneself doing that reaction or stepping into the new skill that they want. It's about building that self-awareness muscle. So speaking around this, how do I build this or how do I teach this? It's really in the small and subtle practices that get developed over, and they practice it over 2 weeks. And so this is really small and subtle practices because I'm working below the psychological immune system. So as we know, we have a physical immune system, and our physical immune system will kick out a foreign body. Even though you might need a new heart to survive, your body is going to always want to reject that new heart. So you have to take immune suppressant drugs the rest of your life. Just like us in our psychological immune system, we want great change. We want it. And we know it would benefit us so much if we had this great change in our life. It would benefit our kids, our leadership, our marriage, all of this. So we really want it and we know it would benefit us. But our psychological immune system is trying to keep us in our comfort zone, keep us safe by repeating the patterns over and over and over again. And so working below the psychological immune system is really building small and simple practices that I say to most of my clients, nobody's going to even know you're doing the practices, but they're small and they're simple. And over time, you start building these new muscles, these new skills and capacities within inside of yourself. Yeah.
I love that because, I'm hearing you talk about metaphors. I work on playfulness, which is
Mhm.
also below the psychological
Yeah.
level.
Yeah.
And people basically keep a felt sense. And what I'm noticing is the most successful fathers I work with are the ones that are able to be fully present to their wife and then somehow have once in a while a small, like, penetrative comment like, hey, darling, relax. And then she laughs and she relaxes. And
Yeah.
so those seems to be huge gifts.
Mm-hmm. Indeed.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So, Micheline, last question. How important do you believe it is for parents to maintain a sexual life through having children? I'm pretty sure it cannot be as playful and full as before children, but how important is that?
Well, I think it is actually becomes even more playful after children. It might not be as robust, before children or as often. But I think by maintaining that level of connection, because at that level of intimacy, there is greater trust, there is greater openness, there is greater a willingness to surrender. And that part of the sex life is so valuable to be on the same page with the children, to be aligned in the values that you most want for your family. Because in those intimate moments, it can be, very playful, very opening, very freeing. And I mean, I can definitely speak for myself. When you're enjoying a sex life, you're open, you're free, you're not burdened by pressure and this constant giving. It's freeing. And so that being able to explore that area and to be in that intimate space with your partner, it's so vitally important for the kids. It's so vitally important for the family because it's keeping playfulness alive, it's keeping intimacy alive, it's keeping trust alive. I actually think that once the sex life of parents starts breaking down, that's when you start getting these two camps, and people and then sit in camps and kind of throw these little fireballs over back and forth, and that is creating toxic energy in the family unit. So can't say more about how important it is to maintain a healthy sex life as parents. Mm-hmm.
So I was picturing to name our conversation Good Parenting to Good Sex. It's also good sex to good parenting.
Totally. Absolutely.
Oh,
They're a relationship that is symbiotic, similar to parenting and leadership. They go hand in hand, you know? We can't keep separating. All of separation is everywhere in our world, thinking we can compartmentalize. This is why I'm working particular with this group of high performing, high achieving women, is because pre-COVID, we all believed this facade that there was a personal life and a professional life. And COVID blew that out of the water. You know, we're all at home struggling with our kids, and we're all going to work and doing our darndest at work, and there's, it's no real separation between the two. So I couldn't agree with you more.
wonderful. So I'm going to put your contact info in the description below if someone is interested in working with you. And as usual, I love our conversation. So thank you very much, Micheline.
Yes, you're so welcome, Valdo. Thank you for your time.
You take
Mm-hmm.
good care.
Yes, bye for now.
If this conversation between Micheline and I inspired you to improve your parenting skills and, of course, your sex life, I invite you to hit the like button below and subscribe so you can be notified when I publish new juicy content. I look forward to seeing you very soon.